right? And I think that's a fair name. I mean, that encompasses what they have. They have some psychoactive cannabinoids, the Delta 8. And Eric, I think the biggest problem, quite frankly, the hemp derived Delta 9, that is, I don't know what they're selling in the smoke shops that they're calling hemp derived pre rolls.
Yeah.
I mean, that can be anything from hemp that's sprayed with 8 or 9 all the way to garbage that's swept off a floor of an Oklahoma grow.
And you don't know.
And you don't know, seriously, you really don't know.
Well,
And it's obviously a loophole in the Farm Bill because any cannabis product, be it hemp and listen, I walked into a smoke shop the other day. There was a 27% sativa label on this product, okay, with a big triangular cannabis leaf and in a stamp, just and who knows what's in it. But if it's 27% THCA, that just means it hasn't been lit yet, because every product until it's combusted is THCA primarily, until you bake it in a brownie or light it in a joint, So to me, I'm fascinated by that, and I think that is the ultimate battle at the state level between and let's face it, the people that go up to Tallahassee, many of them, and some, I believe, near libelous statements, quite frankly, about the pesticides that the MMTCs have allowed my patients to be exposed to. Okay.
That's really
Ruta and I talk about it. We haven't had one patient tell us about anything negative about their exposure to the Florida medical cannabis flower products, everybody. And seriously.
And they are tested.
No, and I think they're great products. I think they are appropriately tested.
I think so too.
But of course, everybody has the conspiracy theory that it's the MMTCs behind this in their attempt to close the market. Now, who hands out the envelopes in Tallahassee, I agree, definitely, gets into the offices, this a heck of a lot more than I do. How much do you do you buy into that to that extent, to the thinking, or do you believe Senator Burton when she says it's absolutely to the extent of her interest in safety and public health? Both.
I think this was actually an issue. I think this might have been brought to them by the medical marijuana industry, partly because when they were starting to make assumptions, like if you see a big sign that says 27% THC, like how old is your product? Because this stuff, it's a plant, it's supposed to grow, and so which leads you to questions of what are they spraying it with, and then it makes me think of like spice back in the day, which I think we've all but banned at this point. So because it was the same type of product. I do think that there's a safety issue that the legislature is trying to attack, and I think that they're left with the idea that if they're going to let people use these kind of chemicals, then they're going to do it in the tightly regulated market that's really turned into a lot of what the law wants. I mean, there's if you go to a dispensary right now, it's fairly well organized. I mean, you have to give your card at the door and then give your card again and all sorts of other things. I think lawmakers like that, and I think that they would rather see people go into that market not as much for profit, but because they know that it's tightly controlled, because there is that fear, and voters, especially older ones, aren't saying that, aren't acquiescing, saying, oh, okay, I smoked weed, when I was 20. These are people that are still equating marijuana to LSD. I think John Morgan once said, these are the people that think of everything in one big bowl, from cocaine to marijuana, and you just grab from it. They're not the same horse. So that concern, I think that concern is there among lawmakers. Why it's taken so long is, again, I don't think the numbers are there and how it's impacted people.
It's true. No, I agree with that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting because, let's face it. Like I said, I think I don't think, I'll be honest with you, Eric, I'll be shocked. Although I've been shocked the entire session, so there'll be no surprise there. But I'd be shocked if they came up with a matching Senate and Mazzullo House bill, because I'm not so sure that they need to, quite frankly, and I'm not so sure that it really suits any particular purpose, especially without having those other provisions. To me, as I tell every patient, it's just, them up at Tallahassee swishing their tails and letting us know that no matter what the people decide, that they're going to put their stamp on it. And I think we all knew that anyway,
Yeah.
So but I do applaud Representative Mazzullo as we're, it's interesting. Representative Rudman, who's the other doctor up in the House, has been kind of quiet in the debate, but he's voted, pretty much along party lines and with Rep Mazzullo. But, there's two doctors up in the House. My goal is simple. As we go forward with legal adult use, two goals. One, to make sure we protect medical. And that's, why I'm so interested. For example, I think there's other things that protect medical. Protection in the workplace. Obviously, if you have a medical card, would be one. Wouldn't it be great if you were a medical patient and you could actually pay the MMTC up front to grow a specific plant or cultivar for you? They're not going to allow home grow for medical right away. We know that. But maybe there's other ways. So my point is, I think we need to be creative, to make sure, that the medical program, but the second is, as we go forward for whatever legal adult use looks like, I still believe the doctor has a critical role in making sure that we do get on board with what the legislature wants. And I agree with them, is safety and education and testing and the appropriate regulation. And I think there's an appropriate voice for that. The reason I haven't seen you this year up in Tally, Eric, and I kind of miss it. I think the whole session's, I think the whole session's going to go by without it. Here's my point. We actually sent Rep Mazzullo last week an amendment, and I don't think it's going to be added on today. I think we would have seen it. We want an advisory panel at the OMU level of doctors that can assist the legislature in the hemp debate, in the legal adult use debate, in the preservation of medical debate. If that amendment would have been offered up, I would have driven up overnight, quite frankly, to speak for that in front of the House, because that's my powder, right? That's a cannon that I would fire, because I would enjoy the interaction, quite frankly, of a 5-minute give and take with them, which is another thing that's been fascinating about Tallahassee this year, is that they've given a lot of space for people to kind of talk themselves out, And when I get up to Tallahassee, if I get 30 seconds,
you're lucky.
But that I would come up for, Eric, because that's an amendment that I can believe in, right? Yeah. That no matter what goes on, we need the appropriate advisors. And I'm biased, I think the doctors, have their role, say. So as usual, here we are up to the 9 o'clock hour. Tell us what you're up to, Politico, and your beats right now, and what you anticipate coming forward over the next 3 weeks or so.
Well, I'm about to go run over to the House to go cover this, to see where this THC's cap is going to go. I pretty much guarantee you it's going to pass, at least on party lines. And it will, and I think that will be the last stop before it's a candidate for the floor. The two bills are going to look alike. The Senate bill is going to look the same too. I think they want to move this through. There was a deal made at some point. It might have been on the Senate President's Live Healthy plan to expand workforce for healthcare. There might have been a few trades there that made this bill possible in the Senate, but I think they just want to get it through. So, and all that other stuff. I got a lot of stuff going on in the healthcare world. As you know, it's never a dull moment. So I won't bore you guys with too much of that one, but.
No, your beautiful family.
That meeting,
no, your beautiful family and everything. I follow you on Facebook, and and I do. I listen when it's kind of like telehealth. I miss my handshakes and my hugs. With my patients. Same that if I don't get to Tallahassee this year, then I do. I miss running into Eric in the halls. But keep doing what you do, because it's hard to get the great information from up there. Although the Florida channel, I think, is a wonderful source. And, listen, you can follow the hearings. And if you do, then you get a sense of what's going on. But I love the inside view, and I thank you so much for it. And we'll have you back whenever you come back with us.
After it would be nice.
I love being on your podcast and hanging out with you guys. Please invite me anytime. It's always a pleasure to talk about what we're working on up here.
Awesome.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric.
Be well. Everybody, we'll see you next week in the